What do you think it is that the horror fan will see in a movie like Sleepaway Camp that the mainstream completely misses?
I don't know.
I know you're on a roll.
Today we dive back into the dark and twisted, warm and fuzzy mind of one of Hollywood's most interesting and eccentric behind-the-scenes personalities, Ed French. He himself admitted in previous segments of this very interview that he is a man that wears many hats: a movie makeup and prosthetics artist, an actor, a horror story narrator, and a lover of classic horror fiction, as well as a self-proclaimed movie makeup ninja. Yes, you heard that right, a movie makeup ninja. Because Ed French is the guy that does the kind of work that other movie makeup artists would rather just throw a green screen at. In today's segment, Ed French recaps what it was like working on 3 horror movie cult classics: Amityville II, The Possession, Sleepaway Camp, and Blood Rage. And if you've ever wondered what it is that the horror fan sees in these kinds of films that, let's say, the average movie critic doesn't, then I promise you, Ed French's insights are pure gold. Not only a true master of the craft of movie makeup and prosthetics, Ed French is also a witty, interesting, and simply all-round delightful dude to talk to. He's like a horror-loving philosopher armed with a movie makeup kit, and trust me, that is the combination you never knew you needed until now. So if you like horror movies and offbeat films, then I think that you're in the right place today. So hit that subscribe button, drop some love for Mr. French in the comments, pull up a chair, and join in the conversation. Hope you enjoy. What is it like for you watching a movie that you worked on? So from a makeup perspective, I mean, I go and watch T2 and I'm like, wow, this movie. Do you immerse yourself in the same way that I would, or is it kind of like for you, oh, geez, I should have done a better job there, or do you kind of see it like that?
I did Star Trek 6 years ago, and when I first saw it, the memories of being on the set were too close for me to be objective about it or think much of it one way or the other. I was excited to work on it. I grew up watching the original television series, and it was kind of amazing to be on that set with the original cast. That was the last movie that the original cast from the 60s was in. And then I saw it years and years after that, and I could look at it objectively, and it's good. I can get into it. I can watch it. I can also see things that could have been done better, but on the whole, I was satisfied with it. It's good to put some distance between you and the work you do, and before you check it out again. Same with the recordings. I've done these audiobook narrations, and I have no idea whether they work or they don't work. Some of them get a lot of likes, some of them not so many. And sometimes I'll go back and I'll listen to something I did 5 years ago, and it's fresh to me, and I can judge it and go, hey, it's not bad, you know. Amityville II. That's the first big movie I worked on. I mean, at that time, I believe after that I went on doing a small slasher movie called Sleepaway Camp. But Amityville II was like a college education in makeup effects. It was a very fortunate thing for me. Dick Smith had done The Exorcist years before, and he didn't want to do Amityville II, so he turned it over to one of his proteges, a guy named John Caglione. And John had just worked on Quest for Fire with Stéphane Dupuis, and they went on Amityville. And then I was brought in to work in the lab and make molds. And I wound up going to Mexico City with them to work on the movie. It was a great experience, but also it was all kinds of makeup tricks and effects. We created gelatin heads that got blown up on camera, and demon possession makeups and what they call bladder effects, a lot of practical makeup effects. And I learned a lot, and it really gave me a leg up when it came to the next one, Sleepaway Camp, where I did it all myself.
Sleepaway Camp is a cult classic. It's a real horror classic, you know.
It surprises me. I'm surprised. For years I forgot about it. never heard too much about it. Now it's, yeah, I get a lot of comments about it. I looked online and I was stunned by, how much merchandise there is now for it. And also I looked at Rotten Tomatoes to see how they rated it. And it's very interesting. It's like, well, this is a terrible movie, but it's great. What the hell does that mean? That's true. That's another one of those movies with an X factor. And there's some good makeup effects in it that I did. Again, I was still learning. And there's some terrible ones, but then there's the final scene, which I don't want to give away if anybody hasn't seen it, where there's a final moment of horror, and everybody talks about that. And in a way, that's kind of makes the movie.
What do you think it is that the horror fan will see in a movie like Sleepaway Camp that the mainstream completely misses?
I don't know. Honestly, I was, as you were talking, I was thinking, when I grew up, I lived in a little town in New Hampshire, and the movie theater was miles and miles away, and all I had was television. And the movies that I watched were, 25, 30 years old, the Universal movies, the black and white movies, the horror movies. They weren't explicitly gory or anything, but they would get your head into a space that was, imaginative, a different world, a little creepy, and monsters, But I've often thought, gee, I wish I'd done more of those. When I came into it, it was a chance to get into do movies, but it was Sleepaway Camp was one of those gory movies. It was intended to be what it was, a slasher movie, and that was the kind of horror that it was, and I embraced it. It has, as you say, grown into quite a cult. I don't think it's any different than people that are serious about baseball teams or music. They have very strong opinions, and they become very possessive of these things, including certain actors. I know a guy named Michael Blake, who was retired since he was a makeup artist, and he's written several books about Lon Chaney Sr. And he's very possessive of Lon Chaney Sr. and really worships him, And there are a lot of the fans that feel the same way too. They're very passionate about it. I can't claim to completely understand what the fascination is with Sleepaway Camp. I don't know, but there is a passion. When the DVD came out, I went down to a signing at one of the stores in LA, and I met with Felissa Rose. I hadn't seen her in years, and they were all kids when I worked on it, and people would just come pouring into the store, get this DVD and sign, get an autograph and all this stuff. And I'm stunned. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have the attention, it's very nice, but it is unexpected. I just thought that whole thing would go away.
Yeah, well, I suppose you've contributed to something that has touched people's lives in a sense. There must be something special about that.
Yeah, no, I was on a TV show, just helping out again, doing makeup on a show years ago called Rizzoli and Isles, and I can't remember the name of the woman, one of the leads in it. I think she'd heard that I worked on Sleepaway Camp. And she's like a star of the show, and she comes running up. You did Sleepaway Camp. I saw that years ago when I was at a pajama party, and I'm thinking, this girl's like the girls' night out there. The kids are watching this on the TV. I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of it. I looked at the merchandise online, and they have these little T-shirts for people that are almost like toddlers that have like somebody with a knife in their hand on it. And I'm going, it's like, you see, I'm kind of a conservative kind of person, maybe. I don't know.
That's great. I mean, Blood Rage is another one that's taken on.
Blood Rage.
Yeah.
Blood Rage, yes. That was done in New York. Actually, it was done in New York, and then we shot it in Jacksonville, Florida for some reason. It was very strange. When it came out on video, I couldn't wait to get a copy and see it. Hadn't seen it. I never saw it in a theater. And all of the effects had been cut out of it. It wasn't that there were no makeup effects. They cut around it. And I thought, that's odd. It was called Nightmare at Shadow Woods at one point. It was called Slasher at one point. It might have been Slasher on the video call. It was called Slasher. And then it was re-released a few years ago. In fact, I did a commentary on the DVD, and it was re-released with all of the effects intact. I went, well, that's good. It should. It's kind of pointless, the movie, without those effects. It's not a great movie. But it had an edge to it with the effects, and the effects were, at that point I said, I'm not going to be the slasher king or the king of splatter. I'm not that interested in doing that, but I'm going to try to make these kind of humorous, not so much gruesome, but kind of almost witty, if that's possible, to make some brutal killing witty. So most of the effects were, I mean, an example of that was one guy gets his hand chopped off. He's drinking a beer. And so I set up a shot where the hand has been dismembered. It's laying on the floor and it squeezes the beer can. That's the kind of thing I wanted to do. You know, I wasn't taking it seriously. Maybe I was being a little flip. I don't know. There were you've seen it, obviously. So, you know, it's a bit weird.
I mean, I think, and I'm sure that a lot of horror fans would agree that the thing that makes Blood Rage is exactly the special effects. I mean, I think that's what everyone praises. You know, of course, there's some funny dialogue in there too, but I think your approach, you know, sort of adding that dark humor to the makeup gave the movie, like you called, a definite edge to it. You know.
Yeah. I mean, when is it? Louise Lasser comes in, and her boyfriend there with a chopped off hand is sort of like this on the table, you know, and then she taps him on the shoulder and he falls over. We cut to this ridiculous looking dummy with the brain coming out. You know, it's just, it's entertainment.
Are you a horror fan, Ed?
Now here we get into this question of horror. I think Boris Karloff used to say there was a difference between what he considered horror and what other people think of as horror. I think things that kind of movies or stories that inspire your imagination and your sense of otherworldliness, maybe a sense of the eerie, I think they call it, or the macabre. I like those things. If you mean by horror the gory stuff, no, not so much so. I don't like senseless killing and so forth and so on. I mean, what's a horror movie? You know, Platoon is a horror movie. I mean, it's horrifying. Remember that movie?
Yeah, maybe, with Oliver Stone, with Charlie
Oliver
Sheen,
Stone's Platoon.
Yeah.
That to me is a horror movie. But I like I rather like things that kind of inspire your imagination. There's an old TV show called The Outer Limits. I said, after I saw that, I said, I really want to have something to do with the entertainment industry. I love this stuff, this sense of awe and mystery as opposed to just a traffic accident.
Right. So you think that's where the strength of horror can lie is in the mystery and the tension and the sense of something beyond what we can see.
Yeah. And I would say one of my favorite movies would be Dead of Night. I don't know if you recall Dead of Night. It was a British movie, an omnibus movie with several stories in it. It was made around 1948, I think. Dead of Night is, for me, what you might call my kind of horror. It's unsettling, and it really gets into the logic of a nightmare without being bloody or anything like that. Dead of Night is perfect movie.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy it, then be sure to join me next time where this conversation with the wonderful Ed French continues. On that note, I wish you all a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay happy, and most of all,
stay horror.
Gaze into the abyss.